Hi, on page 11, we will be finding y-intercepts from tables. And that is actually your goal. I guess I must have forgotten to write it. So your goal is I can find y-intercepts from tables. So just to recap from a couple pages ago, your y-intercept is going to be where the graph crosses the y-axis. Basically, it's going to be where x equals 0. If you remember, we talked about it as the beginning point, or the number that's by itself. It's because that's going to be where it crosses the y-axis. So this is the y-axis, and that point right there would be considered the y-intercept because it's where it crosses that axis. So this is where x equals 0, okay? A table, to define that, is an organized way to represent ordered pairs. And so there are all kinds of examples of tables on this page. Over here, you will notice that on this picture that we have our x, y table, and you're going to notice here where x equals 0, that one is your y-intercept. So where x equals 0, y equals 10, so your y-intercept as an ordered pair would be 0, 10. If you're talking about it just in the form of b, because you're going to be taking it to write an equation, you could say that b equals 10, because that's where x equals 0. Looking down here in your small groups, I want you to be able to identify that. And I made them all to where it's really easy. Here's x equals 0. What is b, or what does y equal? 0. So b equals 0. Here, when x is 0, y is 5. b equals 5. X is 0 here, b is 3.5 because your y was 3.5. So you're always looking where x equals 0. Over here, x equals 0. What does y equal? 1. Therefore, b equals 1. Now, it gets a little more difficult, so this is why you're going to see that I made this the whole class part, because now when you look at your x's, there wasn't a 0 there. And so what you have to do is you have to think of what would happen using the pattern that you're given to find out what would it be if x was 0. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to find the slope. We talked about finding slope on the last page. If you look at your y's, they change. This time it changed 6, and you can assume these are all linear equations, so you know that the rate of change will be the same all the way down. So this goes up by 6. This goes up by 6. So y goes up by 6 as x goes up by 6. Well, if you find the rate that it goes up, change in y over change in x. So to find your slope, 6 divided by 6 is 1. So basically what that is saying is every time this goes up by 1, or I'm sorry, every time this goes up by 1, x will go up by 1 as well. So you'll see over here, I kind of cut it off, but I think you can see enough, that we know that -4, because there's negative signs over here, sorry about that. -4 is x and y is -2. So following this rule, as we take our y up by 1, our x has to go up by 1. So -2 plus 1 is -1. -4 plus 1 is -3. And then we go to -2. We go to -1 that you can't see at all, and then you can kind of see 0 over there. Again, sorry that I cut off the edge. And so those are going up by 1s. Y's are also going up by 1s. So -2 to -1, 0, 1, and 2. And so when x is 0, y is 2. Now, once you see this in the table, hopefully you recognize there's your x equals 0, your y is 2. So your b for this one, your y-intercept, is 2. Looking at number 11, I used these 2 points. Again, you can use any 2 you would like to find out the change in y. So these went up by 8, these went up by 2. So the change in y was 8, change in x was 2. Finding the slope like we did on page 10b, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So what that means, y is going to go up by 4 for every x, or when every x goes up by 1. So I have a little table down here. You'll see here's -1, -9. And then we also have 1, -1. Those were already given to us. So as x went up by 1, so -1 plus 1 is 0, then y went up by 4. So -9 plus 4 is -5. So that follows the same pattern, and so you can plug it in to that. And so 0, when x is 0, y will be -5. So your b is -5. Looking at 12, I used these 2 points as y went up by 18, x went up by 2. So 18 over 2 would simplify to be 9 over 1. So y changes 9 as x changes 1. So then I have my point, -3, -27. So I listed that one, and then I'm just following the pattern. My x's always went up by 1, so -2, -1, and 0. And then my -3 went with -27, so there's that. And then I'm adding 9 each time. Plus 9 gets me -18. Plus 9 gives me -9. Plus 9 gives me 0. And so when my x is 0, my y would be 0. And so that's how you can use your table and your slope to help you find the y-intercepts. Now down here, we're going to take it one step further as you were thinking about this one individually. The slope, remember, is the change in y over change in x, and your y-intercept is where x is going to equal 0. So looking at this table, I just chose the first 2 points. Again, choose any 2 you want. And I noticed that from -32 to -18, it went up 14. My x went from -5 to -3, so it went up by 2. As y went up by 14, x went up by 2. So when you simplify that, 14 over 2, you get 7. So y changes 7 as x changes 1. So then you can follow the pattern. Here's -1, -4. So I wrote those down here. And then we have, so then when we add our 1, our x is going to be 0, which is what we want. -4 plus the 7 will give you a +3. So therefore, b is going to equal 3. Now, we also found up here that our m, our slope, was 7. So we were able to write that as well. Since you know your slope and your y-intercept, this takes us right to the same place we were with our word problems. And now you can write an equation in slope-intercept form. Remember, that's the y equals mx plus b. So it becomes y equals m, 7x, plus, and then your b you just found is 3. So when you get these notes done, you can come up for your green stamp. Thanks.